Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, Arjun. Good
Hi there.
afternoon.
I'm here on
Good, good. Good to
Thanks.
be able to speak to you finally.
Yeah, and good that we can do it so quickly after yesterday. Thanks for that. So then we got it both out of the way, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
lovely.
Just very quick intro. So I'm from GSR Ventures, which is a US-based VC that has been around for over 20 years.
Yeah,
We're very, very closely looking at Hupo as a potential investment target.
yeah.
We do early stage, and myself grew up in China and spent a decade in Hong Kong and moved to
Okay.
Singapore in recent years.
All right. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Understand.
So I do have a couple of questions.
Yeah,
If you don't mind, then I'll just get started.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank
Yeah.
you. The first one is how did you come to know Hupo in the first place, and what was the kind of journey like before you decide or your team decide to use their products?
Yeah. Actually, it came on a referral basis through our previous CEO for Asia, Mr. Gordon Watson, who was still as an advisor active for AXA, and probably early Q2 it was mentioned, and from there, in fact, we intensified. This was on our radar already. Something in the AI sales training, sales coaching, or even live support during a sales conversation type of development, and that intensified towards an event that we had in July, where we bring our best advisors together somewhere. That was this time in Korea. We call it AXA Prime, and Gordon was present there as well. And together with my boss, Sally O'Hara, she's the CEO for Southeast Asia and Korea, and I'm the CDO, so I'm looking after the distribution and collaboration with the CDOs in the four markets, in the entities, and with the CEOs, of course, of those entities. So together with Sally, I had a quite long chat around this type of solution, and Hupo in particular, given that Gordon was a big supporter of them, and of course we engaged also some other parties in meantime, right? And after that, from where we look at, okay, so what is most appealing to us, but not just only on proposition, but also in terms of understanding what we want, what we need, how we look at this, and why it is so important to us. And then Justin and his team came across as very, let's say, understanding the need, and actually we didn't have to talk too much about it, because they're more or less planned out what we would say to them, right? It was quite a natural fit for us to proceed with Hupo until where we are right now, even without going into competitive bidding with other players. We did talk to, in total, three, four, I think four actually, four players, including Hupo, but it never came to a pitch, because we believe that, you know you can save a bit here and there maybe, but in the end that is not the name of the game. You need to have somebody who understands what you need and move forward with that, and we decided to go that way, and that's why we are with Hupo right now.
Got it, got it. And would you be able to share what are the other offerings that you compared against as well? And like specifically, what makes Hupo stand out? I understand that you're saying that they understand what you
Mm.
need very much, very well.
Okay.
What exactly those
So,
understanding are?
okay, understand. So the first thing on names, I need to dig into it, because I didn't talk much with them, because what's the one? I don't know, it's top of mind, but I don't get it out right now. I can share that with you, but on the other hand, I also don't want to share too much around names, because every entity needs to find his way, right? And I don't want to play down other players. Uh, uh, they might have fantastic solutions, but
Of
maybe
course,
because of the fit not being there, right?
of course, of
Yeah.
course.
So what was then the specific reason why Hupo, in terms of an understanding? So I got the impression that and it's more than an impression. I'm convinced that they understand in the financial services industry, banks, and for us, insurance companies well, and what happens to us. And the connection, this one was very quickly made. So if we look at our agency forces, we do agency and banca, by the way, as the main distribution channels in Southeast Asia for our life insurance products. We focus on agency first. Okay, there's two very big challenges in agency to scale an agency, to make it bigger. You got key drivers, right? Which manpower is important. You got in there, you got manpower, active manpower, average case size, cases per active, right? These are the things that drive the top line performance. But it all starts with manpower. No manpower, no future. Unfortunately, is still quite, in my view, for Southeast Asia. I'm here for 20 years. In Southeast Asia, there is still quite a bit of dependency on scale, because it's still not being perceived in a more in the mature markets like Singapore, Hong Kong. It's a full-time job, right? And even there, full-time doesn't mean that in the definition of full-time, it doesn't mean that people by default do only one job, but a good job to have it next to it. We call it full-time because the volume is being generated and the income being generated, but it's still not always a full-time job. So it's in general in the more let's say less mature markets like Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, you can call it a few, or the very emerging countries, right? It is about manpower. What is very important in manpower are in fact three things. The people that are good and that survive your first year, make them stick. Make sure that they continue in what they do, that it becomes a relevant part of the income that they generate, and that they stick with you and not go for a few percent of commission more somewhere else. That's not so much what Hupo is about. But to get to that point for us with agency where that number of people that are successful and stick with us, that's where the value sits for us. The first one sits with the new recruits. We know that within a month we need to have a new recruit active. If not, then forget about it. They give up. It doesn't mean that they were not committed, because they were willing to sit 2-3 days in a training room to get licensed, right? But if in one month the proof is not there that they can earn some money with it, it's gone. Why do they fail in the first month? Because this is not just AXA, this is all life insurance entities, companies. We focus on getting them ready in 2-3 days for passing the regulatory requirement. There's very little attention being paid to the, let's say, the sales capability to develop that, and it's also not enough time. You can do that. You cannot do that. So that's very undervalued, right? In the basic training. To get them back into a room, to get through the training process, very difficult, because it's, they try out, it's not their main job at starting point, and we trust actually and believe in our leadership. Our unit manager and people like that, to take care of that in the field. That is not great. We know that also for a fact. So what do we need to do? We need to quickly re-engage with them after the onboarding training, that regulatory requirement, to train their sales skills. And we need to do that in a way that we can scale it, because the more recruits we have, the better it is. And we need to focus on getting them very quickly up to some basic sales skills. And with an AI sales coach, sales trainer proposition, you get much closer to really training people in the first 5, 6, 7 days of their journey with us. That's one. So once we get there, then we got a bigger base of people that survive that first month, right? However, the other important key driver is that after a year, if you still look at from the 100 people recruited on day one, how many are left? How many survived, right? Only 15%. Only 15%. And this is a very common number across markets, not just here, not just the markets we operate in, not just AXA. So I've been in a few companies, you see it everywhere. And there also, training is not a one-time thing, and through having such a proposition to a new recruit on which he engages and the person gets successful, the chance that they continue to engage that tool is, and we can control it as well, of course, right? Whether that happens, we can incentivize it, we can monitor it, we can see the results through the management tool that runs next to it. We are convinced that we keep those people engaged on the tool, and as such, our survival rate will dramatically, in our belief, right, will dramatically, we only know that after a year, but will dramatically increase over 12 months period. And that's where really value sits for us. New recruits with a much higher active ratio in the first month that stay with us and a much higher stickiness level than currently. And that's the start of our funnel, right? The funnel of building up a bigger agency. Very, very key in it is that even with I personally I do believe in face-to-face training, also sales training, right? But on a one-on-one basis, very difficult, because then you need to have an enormous scalability and willingness to pay for that in a face-to-face training solution, right? If you can already find those numbers of people, it becomes just way too expensive. So this is a key solution to it. For us, it's very obvious, and that we didn't have this 4 or 5 years ago, or even 3 years ago. The technology, well, maybe was there, but was not being, let's say, was not being developed towards our need, right? That became
Understand. Yeah. And thank you so much for explaining. And actually, just out of curiosity, so when you compare the emerging markets, where you say it actually depends a lot on the scale of your agent base for a successful business, versus the more developed markets, whether it's Singapore, Hong Kong, or maybe let's say Europe or US, in those more developed markets, do you also see such need of a large agent base to start with and higher turnover, or it's a very different dynamic there?
It's a bit different, but the need is definitely there, because good salespeople need to also be continuously, even if they're good, right? Forget about skill at this point in time. Good salespeople need to continuously be trained as well. It's just a skill that you need to keep hot, that you need to develop. You cannot just say, I'm a good salesperson right now, and for the next 10 years, I will continue to be a good salesperson because I'm a good salesperson. It doesn't work like that. You need to be trained to keep you sharp. So yes, from that angle, definitely. But the other thing that we are looking at with Hupo moving forward, but we call this phase 2, is that how do we let the technology not only support, let's say, a digital commercial training proposition, but we also want the tool to start running in a real live sales conversation at point of sales, and then not so much to train, but to suggest. So given on what happened so far, we propose you to touch this, and if for example, I'll just give some examples, right? If a customer comes up with a constraint or with an objection, right? This is the objection. You can try this, right, to convince them, right? And we believe that in the more mature, that will also be very relevant to us in the developing markets, but that this is also super relevant to very developed markets where things run well, because it will just increase significantly productivity of people.
Got it. And even to think one step beyond that, do you foresee, whether it's Hupo or another company, do you foresee solutions in your tech stack in the future for them to be directly external facing, and handling customers with let's say, an AI agent?
Yes, but we continue to say that some companies phrase it out in such a way, digital by heart, but with a human touch, right? So FWD is saying I worked there for a while, so it's saying that very much, right? But that's not only FWD. There's many companies having that same principle. They make a great tagline out of that, and are very successful with that as a life insurance entity company. But we still believe that human, I wouldn't call it intervention, but human touch at point of sales remains important. We believe in that.
Yeah, yeah.
It might be that it's not true, that we're wrong on it, right? And this might also be a generation thing, right? That I believe that, but my kids no longer believe in that, right? So, and you need to be open to that. So definitely, they, in my view, they will run together with a real agent from flesh and blood, right, in front of a customer, collaborating, in fact, in convincing the customer. But of course, that there is a chance that even the human touch is no longer needed. Yeah.
And it's also,
you need to be in it. I'm very convinced about that.
Exactly. Or AI and human just works at different segments. For example, let the machines handle the long tail, low value, low probability ones first.
Yeah. Correct. And the other thing is, but we're not focusing yet on these solutions because I'm in fact the CDO for the region, and most of our business is face to face. So I take it out of that approach. Although we do have in Korea a direct marketing telemarketing business, so there it can also run. Doesn't really mean so much whether it's face to face or voice to voice, right? So in fact, it's the same thing. Well, not exactly the same thing, but it comes close, right? But the deployment of it in an inbound call center, service center, yes, why not, right? Or the chatbot, it's in fact also a chatbot. It's everything, right? In the end.
Yeah. Makes sense. And in terms of access of customer data for products like Hupo, how should we think about it? I understand that the current product is actually very lightly integrated. They don't require any sort of systematic integration into your existing core system. So would hope to understand, one is in current phase, what type of documents, information, data is feeded into Hupo for them to do their job. And two is, do you foresee them expanding into a more central or core system that's intrinsically plugged into more and more, whether it's internal data, customer data, and being part of the core system in the future?
Yeah, definitely on internal data, you name it, right? Whether it's process driven, whether it's product driven, so things like that, right? So whether it's advice driven, right? Yes, all that can be done, and they will become more dominant and more important in that. As such, in our view, as such, the role of the face-to-face advisor, flesh and blood, right, is not so much focused on that anymore because the tool has it already in it, right, embedded. So yes, we want to put that in. And on customer data, that's a bit different. You know, there where we can and are allowed to do it, because there's consent given. Yes. I don't think the consent issue is too big, by the way. There are markets where you cannot just easily share customer data, but we're talking here about customers giving their consent to use their own data, right? So I don't see that as a big issue. Some people see that as an issue. I don't see that because if consent is given, then we build up. Then we have in fact customer data of a real person that we can map against in the advice process, right? That we can map not so much against other advisory conversations, but we can map it against the personas that we define by ourselves as customers based on their needs. And for that, we come up with, right? And so I don't think that you need to have a lot of customer data to enter this. Over time, of course, right? It will further refine your proposition, but you can perfectly start off with, I don't know, say something, let's say you got 50 standard conversations, right? And with 10 ways to build up a need-based analysis, with maybe the 30 most heard objections, right? You can, and by having your own perfect trainer that is maybe the perfect agent, right? You can simulate all these conversations, and that's the and that and then the customer data can go against all those sample conversations, right? And then further on, later on, you can refine that by all the data of customers that you collected and are allowed to use in fact further build up the preciseness of the tool. No.
Understand. So it's much more, how can I put it, process or scenario based instead of the exact, name, identity,
Yeah,
and all that.
yeah. And over time we can get much closer because we add on to the scenarios real customer data.
Yeah,
But it doesn't
understand.
stop us from starting at all. I hear many companies say this. Okay, happy you say that. I don't believe in what you say, but let us do our thing then, and we're nicely ahead of you, right?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
And also, Arjun, I hope you understand how the charge or the fee works right
Yeah.
now with Hupo. Maybe from like ground ground up um, estimation, like what is the size of agents
Yeah.
at AXA are using
Yeah.
Hupo's product, and how do you see the potential of them growing from here?
Yeah. So in fact, I'll disclose to you where we are right now. So we're going live with Hupo in 2 markets in November, which is Thailand and the Philippines on the live entities. Then in Indonesia, we have 2 entities, one focusing on bank assurance. We will do that something, but it's a smaller base of advisors because bank branches in the end is limited. It's not endless, right? And we do have an agency organization. The agency organization in a separate entity that will go live in January next year. That's the plan. And that bank thing is not 100%. I mean, the life insurance entity that supports the bank relationship is not 100% clear when that goes live, but probably in that same time frame from November to somewhere in January. And that we do on a fixed fee per country. And that has been agreed, which is $20,000 for 3 months, let's say proof of concept, pilot, whatever you want to call it, right? Per entity. From there, assuming that it all go, maybe we extend that. We'll see. It can even be a year long, right? If we want, and we have also proposals around that because then we can measure the stickiness also better, right? But the idea is that once the POC pilot period is done, so that is 3 to 12 months, that we then go to a volume-based license approach, and in which we club, let's say, all our sales forces in Asia together. Okay, based on this number of salespeople that we have, and I can give you the numbers. In Thailand, we have around 15,000 agents. In the Philippines, we have around 6,000 agents. In Indonesia, we have around 5,000 agents, and then we have around 1,000 banker advisors in that other entity in Indonesia, and we actually still have another 800 in Thailand as well, banker advisors, but we keep that out of scope right now. We focus mainly on agency right now. So these are the volumes, yeah, and then we're going to agree on a price per user. And the way I look at it is that over time, maybe not all people will have a trading license, because part of, in fact, on a successful person, in fact, the training doesn't really have to go anymore, or not that much anymore, to the training tool. It goes through the live agent sitting next. So you're trained on the job, right? Because the live agent gives you the advice. So it goes seamless actually. Yeah. So yeah. And it's a matter then of volumes of users, but that is definitely 20,000 up.
Understand.
Times cost per user.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And is it fair to say that, like you mentioned, once an agent graduated from training and decides to stay, then the frequency of use would of course, decrease
Yeah,
compared to when they're first onboarded. So
yeah.
how would you think about the licenses for those graduated users? Um, how would you budget for that?
Yeah, so again, like I said, on a fixed fee basis, and as we saw some tables, we didn't negotiate this out, but at this point in time, that comes as we go, right? If we also see the real so we got an ROI idea, right? And benefit idea, but yeah, you need to test that against reality. But I would say a training license are of around $10, quite logical, and a live advisor sitting on your shoulder next to you in a conversation with a consumer, with a customer, around 15, something like that. That's what I have in mind. Then you can do the
Yeah,
math.
yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense, makes
yeah,
sense. And thank you so much for sharing colors on that.
yeah.
Um, I guess yeah, I think I've covered majority of the question. Maybe one last question
Mhm.
is that um, we are trying to think about Hupo, the products of Hupo expanding to other
Yeah,
more mature markets, let's say US
yeah,
and Europe.
yeah.
And we're trying to decide um, them being relatively successful in Asia, how much of that reasons or factors can still be applied in the US or Europe versus being more Asia specific.
No, I don't think well. Is that we are in Asia and we initiated from here. I think this is going on in multiple parts of the world. And what Hupo is doing is can be exported to outside Asia. There's
Mm,
no doubt in my mind. But that's their business capability, right? Well, can they build network? Do they have the right people? Can they find the right representatives in those markets? But that tool can be marketed everywhere. I have no doubt around that.
got
Yeah.
it, got it.
Yeah.
And even within AXA itself, since it's such a big global company, you do see the need in other markets for a solution like this.
Definitely, it's a for us. It's a use case, right? That we're building up right now, and if that use case shows the right ROI, it will be exported to the other countries where we are, the other regions where we are active. So Europe, Latin America, South America, Africa. We're not so
Yeah.
much in the US. Not so much. We're not in the US and Canada, but
Mm,
Latin America and South America, and in Europe, of course, and North Africa, we have significant presence. Yeah,
got it, got
yeah,
it.
yeah.
How would you evaluate the ROI of Google's product
Yeah,
actually?
so financially, I did not really do it yet in terms of what is the ROI percentage. But what I did define is this: we are convinced that by having this tool, we can dramatically improve our uh, first month active ratio, which sits on average across all markets around 40% by a factor 1.5, so 60%. And we can improve the stickiness after 1 year by a factor 2. Those are our KPIs that we work towards. We can calculate actually relatively easy what the real ROI is in a percentage, but we just didn't have to do it. People are excited on that already here. Go ahead. But it's easy to calculate because I know what on average a rookie agent does. So in the first month we get 1.5 times more across all those markets in terms of premium times margin. It's our value, right? And
Mm, mm,
and I can calculate towards the year end how many of them will still be left and how much more it is compared to what we are facing right now. And that value divided, that value becomes the denominator on the cost that we incur.
got it, got it. So it can be actually very easily quantitatively
Yeah,
derived.
yeah, yeah,
Got it, got it, got it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, Arjun. And that's all the question from me, actually. Really, really appreciate your time.
Okay, no worries.
If you don't mind, maybe I'll add you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can keep in touch.
Yeah.
And definitely would love to understand the other peers that you or your team have looked at.
Yeah.
So that we can also do our own work as well.
Okay, understand. All right. I'll
All
send
right.
you over. I'll send you that over. One, I have to dig it out a bit, but I'll send you that over.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Arjun.
Take
Yep.
care.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.